Welcome to You Brew Kombucha. One of the most common questions that I get from people is, where do I get these really unique looking bottles that I use to bottle my kombucha? So I purchased these bottles from a wholesale bottle distributor. You can just go online and just search wholesale specialty bottle distributors, and you can find a lot of different sellers that will sell these specific types of bottles. And I'll go through and tell you what they're all called. So if you're looking for a specific bottle type, you can look for that specifically. But what I've found is that because these are specialty bottles, you do have to seek them out from a wholesale distributor. So if you're interested in buying bottles in bulk, this is definitely a good choice for you. I definitely find that they're a lot cheaper when you buy wholesale, which makes sense. The thing about buying online that I've found is that because they are glass and because you'll likely be buying boxes and boxes of them at a time, the shipping costs tend to be high. I'll admit it's been a while. It's been at least a year since I've last checked on shipping prices and general wholesale bottle prices. So I don't have specific numbers for you, but my recommendation would be, if you happen to live nearby a wholesale bottle distributor and they have a warehouse that you can pick up from, oftentimes you can just give them a call and see if they're open to taking pickup orders. And that way you can save on the shipping costs. And honestly, you can just go there and ask them for samples if you want to decide, if you're still on the fence about whether or not you want to commit to purchasing a set number of these bottles. Or if you just want to check out their inventory, some of these wholesale bottle distributors actually have a showroom that you can go to and check out the types of bottles yourself. So where I purchased mine specifically, if you're in the Los Angeles area, I bought mine from General Bottle Supply, and I'll link their website down in the description box below. But I have been using these bottles for years and years and years. Fantastic quality. I've never had a single one break on me, no matter how long I've been fermenting the kombucha in there. So that means a lot, because I've run experiments to see how long I can ferment my kombucha at room temperature and see if these bottles are break. So these were very controlled experiments. I kept them in a closed cabinet to make sure that it wasn't going to be a safety hazard in any way, but they really do withstand pressure very well. And I've been reusing them for years. I can highly recommend these bottles. I love these Boston Rounds. These Boston Round bottles are really great. That's what these are called. They come in a variety of different sizes, all the way from, I think this one's an 8-ounce bottle. This one is 16, and I think this one's 32, but they're fantastic. I do find that they are a little bit more difficult to clean, especially if you're like me and you like pureeing fruit for your kombucha. If you like using these bottles, I would just recommend, as soon as you empty them, just make sure that you fill it with water just to give it a quick rinse to prevent the pulp from the kombucha from just drying up and accumulating on the sides of the bottle, because these ones are a little tricky to clean. I really enjoy using these stout bottles. These are probably my favorite. These stout bottles, just because they have just such a cute shape and they're easier to clean. So if you have a bottle, or if you just have a high pressure nozzle on your sink, I find that is the easiest way to get these clean. So these are great for that, because there's a little bit of a wider opening at the top to make it easier for you to clean it. So these are called stout bottles. This is an 8-ounce, this is a 16-ounce. This is a pretty generic, easily findable flip top bottle. I actually didn't buy this at a bottle distributor, because these are pretty readily available at most beer brewing supply stores, and even on Amazon. I have a link to my favorite brand of flip top bottles on my website. I'll share links to all of this info down below in the description box. If you have any questions about where to find all these different bottles, just check out the description box. But this was not from a wholesale bottle distributor, and this was not from a wholesale bottle distributor, even though a lot of those distributors do sell this bottle. This is called a ring neck, but this is a ring neck bottle that I actually reuse, because I buy these bottles of ketchup and it is the exact same bottle. And you can just, if there are sauce bottles that you buy from the grocery store, rather than throwing it away or putting it in the recycle bin, if you have an opportunity to reuse it for kombucha brewing, that's generally the camp that I find myself in. The thing that I will say about all of these bottles, aside from the flip top, is that the caps are really important. And if you haven't already checked out my super in-depth video guide on bottles and caps, I'll link that down below as well. Definitely check that out, because I go into really great detail about the importance of caps and how they more than the bottle shape or bottle type, affect carbonation during second fermentation. So oftentimes when people have trouble with carbonating their brews, one of the top kind of troubleshooting tips that I recommend is just checking to make sure that the cap is super secure. And what I've found is that for these different bottles, and you can buy the caps along with the bottles when you buy them from these wholesale distributors. But my favorite cap, and the one that has consistently performed really well for me, is just a basic F217 cap. They come in a variety of different sizes, but this one in particular, so this ketchup bottle that I've reused, I actually find that this sort of metal cap doesn't get as tight of a seal as I'd like. When I use the cap that came with the bottle, it doesn't result in the most carbonated beverage. So I actually swap it out with an F217 cap that I use. And what's great about this cap is that you can actually use it for these ring neck bottles. You can also use it for these stout bottles. And you can also use these as replacement caps if you buy store GT brand kombucha. These caps are also a really good replacement for those. And the size of these F217 caps is 38 by 400. I'll be sure to put details about the size of all of these caps down in the description box below, but you can also check it out in my in-depth bottle guide and on my bottle guide on my website. You'll be able to find it. I'll link it down below. I will say that there's another cap on the market that is commonly found, and that's a polycone seal cap. So you can see that the difference between the F217, which is my favorite, and these polycone seal caps is that there's a little bit of a cone, a conical shape on the underside of the cap. And a lot of distributors say that this actually helps with preserving carbonation and it creates a tighter seal. I have tried a lot of different polycone seal caps from a lot of different suppliers and different distributors, and I actually find the opposite. I find that the basic F217 cap actually holds in and preserves carbonation a lot better than these polycone seal caps. And I don't know if it's because this actually creates a little bit more of a distance between the lip of the cap and the bottle and the lip of the bottle, but I just find it really ironic because these actually are a little bit more expensive than the basic caps, and people pay extra for them expecting them to hold carbonation better, when I actually have found on many tests that I've found the opposite. They actually don't do a great job with holding in carbonation. But I will say though that different manufacturers may have different specifications, and maybe I've just had a hard time with getting these polycone seal caps to work on my particular bottles just because of sizing issues. But in general, I find that the basic caps work really well for me, so I'm sticking with them. And another thing that's really great about these caps is that when you are fermenting a bottle of kombucha and going through second fermentation, you can actually see an indentation. You can actually see the cap bend a little bit to the pressure of the carbonation in the bottle. And so now when I'm checking my second fermentation bottles to see whether they've carbonated enough, I can actually usually just go by sight, just looking at the top of the bottle to see if there's enough of a bump there. And if there is a bump there, that's a good indicator for me to say that pressure has built up in the bottle. That probably means it's ready to be refrigerated and ready to drink because it's gotten to a good level of carbonation. So that's another reason why I love these caps. And the good thing about them is as soon as you open the bottle and release the pressure, they go right back to a flat state. And so you can actually see the difference between a cap that is bending upward because of the pressure that's built up in the bottle versus a cap that's flat. So that's another reason why I really love these caps with these bottles as opposed to a flip top bottle where you don't really you don't have an opportunity to just gauge by vision whether or not your bottles are carbonated enough. So I hope that was helpful. I will make sure to put links to all of the information that I recapped in this video, so definitely check the description box down below. But I hope that answers your questions about these really cool bottles that I use, and I hope you found this helpful. If you have other questions, be sure to check out my website, youbrewkombucha.com. Happy brewing!